Okay, all right then.
Okay.
We'll look at Monday then, say Monday afternoon early.
Okay, that'll be good. You doing all right?
Good. Good to see you.
We will call this meeting of the Huntsville City Council to order. It is October 12th at 6:01. We welcome all those who have joined us for this meeting this evening. Our invocation tonight will be a prayer for humanity from the writings of the Baha'i faith presented by Alicia Taylor with the Huntsville Baha'i community. That will be followed by an invocation given by the Greater Huntsville Chapter of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated. We are grateful for the service of these individuals tonight. And Ms. Taylor, if you will go to the podium, all rise please for the invocation.
O thou kind Lord, O thou who art generous and merciful, we are the servants of thy threshold and are gathered beneath the sheltering shadow of thy divine unity. The sun of thy mercy is shining upon all, and the clouds of thy bounty shower upon all. Thy gifts encompass all. Thy loving providence sustains all. Thy protection overshadows all. And the glances of thy favor are cast upon all. O Lord, grant thine infinite bestowals, and let the light of thy guidance shine. Illumine the eyes, gladden the hearts with abiding joy. Confer a new spirit upon all people, and bestow upon them eternal life. Unlock the gates of true understanding, and let the light of faith shine resplendent. Gather all people beneath the shadow of thy bounty, and cause them to unite in harmony, so that they may become as the rays of one sun, as the waves of one ocean, and as the fruit of one tree. May they drink from the same fountain. May they be refreshed by the same breeze. May they receive illumination from the same source of light. Thou art the giver, the merciful, the omnipotent. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Many thanks to all those who have participated. Council members, you have received 2 sets of minutes. The first is the minutes of the regular meeting of the City Council held September 28th, 2017. Are there any changes or additions to be made to those minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will be accepted as presented. You have also received the minutes of a special session of the City Council held September 28, 2017. Are there any changes or additions to be made to the minutes of that special meeting? Hearing none, those minutes will also be accepted as presented. We will now move on to resolutions and special recognitions. The mayor is not with us this evening, but Mr. Hamilton will present those special recognitions on behalf of the administration. Mr. Hamilton, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'm going to first ask Michelle Jordan, who's our Director of Planning, but she also is President of the chapter of the Jack and Jill, who just led us through the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to give her a chance to talk a little bit about what that organization does for us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hamilton and Council. Jack and Jill of America is an organization of mothers and children, children aged between 2 and 19, dedicated to nurturing future leaders. And we're so excited that our chapter in Huntsville has many children that we can nurture. I would like to ask the children, the mothers and the fathers associated with the Greater Huntsville chapter to stand at this time. Thank you so much. We're here tonight. It's our legislative activity, and we were really fortunate to have Councilman Keith talk to our young people. You can imagine they were looking at him and thinking, wow, he's almost our age. But Councilman Keith, thank you so much for your time tonight, and many of the children would like to address council at some point this evening. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
And thank you, kids, for leading us this evening. We also have a couple recognitions we're going to do. One is for one of our great employees, and then we'll transition to recognizing a great citizen. So we'll start with the police department, who has an officer who performed outstanding service, and it's appropriate to publicly acknowledge that. So I'll ask the chief to come do that, please.
Thank you, Madam President, and City Councilman and Mr. Hamilton for allowing us to do this. It's my honor to recognize an outstanding police officer in performance of his duties. On August 5th, Joel Stevens, would you come up here, please? Officer Stevens was working at a part-time job at a local mall. He was inside of a movie theater. Recognizing the sound of gunfire coming from outside the movie theater, he performed a security lockdown to keep everyone sheltered in place, went outside, which is kind of what we do. Don't know why we do it, but we run right to the gunfire where everyone else was running away. Joel quickly located a victim who was quickly bleeding to death. It was a very serious gunshot to a major artery. Joel's training allowed him to strap down this person's bleeding artery using another person's belt. He took a belt off another citizen, applied a tourniquet, kept the bleeding, saved his life. Joel, you did a great job. You also stabilized the scene. You kept it from getting worse. It was a very chaotic scene. Just a couple teenagers getting in a fight, become out of control. It was stabilized and stopped at that level, and you saved life as well. It's my honor to present you with the Meritorious Service Medal, which is one of our highest honors in the Huntsville Police Department. So, with that being said, here's the certificate to mount on your wall, and a very difficult medal to win as well. And this is awarded on behalf of the mayor and the Huntsville Police Department, the citizens of Huntsville, to wear on your uniform. Smile. Let me ask your. This is and as part of our community. Let me ask his family to come up here real quick and get a picture. Joel, if you would stand over here by Mr. Hamilton. How many years have you been with us now? 21. Years with the Huntsville Police Department. Beautiful two little girls here. Y'all stand up here. And thank you. You would come around, shake everyone's hand. That's yours.
Thank you.
That's outstanding. And I'm going to ask Mr. Kenny Anderson to come up, and we're going to recognize the great citizen that we have.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. At this time, we have the privilege of recognizing our October Young Citizen of the Month. That person is Aiden Mills, and we'll ask her to come forward at this time. I'll also ask the other members of the CAFY team to come forward quickly so that we can recognize Aiden for the great work that she does. We have a very unique presentation to make tonight, and you'll recognize the connections to this whole process very quickly. But CAFY is a Madison County initiative, so occasionally we get great nominations from other school systems that connect to Huntsville in some way. And Aiden's nomination does that. She is actually a senior at Hazel Green High, and she was nominated by a teacher at Lee High School. For 5 years now, Aiden has been doing a project called the 1313 Project that provides toothbrushes, soap, deodorants, and lots of other things, including meal vouchers for the parents of sick and injured children at Huntsville Hospital. This was spurred by an experience that she had in her own life where her parents were placed in a similar situation when she was hospitalized and they had a difficult circumstance. And so she took that as a life learning lesson and has now begun to do this herself. She's actually doing this project out of a closet at home, for what I understand. And that is absolutely outstanding and remarkable. In 2017, the Huntsville Hospital Foundation named her project, the 1313 Project, as a major donor to their foundation, acknowledging the great work that you've been doing. We congratulate you for what you've done, and tonight we recognize you as the October Rocket City Broadcasting CAFY Young Citizen of the Month. Congratulations. Now I'm surrounded by a lot of people that came bearing gifts tonight, so I'm going to ask them to quickly give you what they have. I'm going to start all the way in the end over here with Mr. Whitley.
Thank you, Kenny. Aiden, on behalf of Huntsville Utilities, thank you for the work that you do in this community, and we look forward to it continuing.
On behalf of Rocket City Broadcasting, congratulations. Not only do we have a little gift here from you, and of course I'm Kevin Daniels, the general manager from Star 99.1, 98.1 The Beat, and also 95.1 The Rocket with Rocket City Broadcasting. But when you come over and do your radio interviews, because I have 2 daughters with cystic fibrosis, and what you're doing is amazing, because there's so many times I have stayed in the hospital for weeks upon weeks, and it just broke my heart today. I just was crying in my office going, what the things that you're doing for this community with the 1313 Project. So Rocket City Broadcasting would like to give you a donation so that you can go out and buy the supplies and stuff. So when you do your radio broadcast with Dr. Hobbs, we're going to give you a donation so you can buy some more supplies for your 1313 Project. So thank you for what you do.
Oh my gosh, Aiden, on behalf of the Optimist Club of Huntsville, it is indeed my pleasure and an honor to present you with a little token of our appreciation to thank you for doing such a wonderful job with your 1313 project. And we are so excited for you. We'd like for you to stay in touch with us because we certainly want to invite you to our youth banquet that we host once a year. And I'm just excited for you. So girls rock. Go Aiden.
Aiden, you're exactly what we were thinking about when my wife and I formed this as the founders of the Young Citizen of the Month. And we're so excited about what you do in this community. So on behalf of my new job as the site director of Florida Institute of Technology and the entrepreneurial spirit which you already have, we want to hand you a bag of information and items to help you continue to grow and serve this community. Thank you.
Aiden, I want you to charge it to my head, not my heart. I had a situation to go to, and I wasn't able to bring your certificate, but on the behalf of the Huntsville Police Department, we'd like to congratulate you for your hard work and your leadership in this community, and I charge and I challenge you to keep doing what you're doing, because you are definitely making a difference. So thank you on behalf of the Huntsville Police Department and Chief McMurray and all the employees of the Huntsville Police Department. Congratulations.
And finally, Aiden, we have a certificate here on behalf of the Human Relations Commission that recognizes you as the Rocket City Broadcasting CAFY Young Citizen of the Month. It's been signed by all of these individuals up here because we're very proud of the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Madam President, that's all I have.
What a great way to open our meeting. We have so many terrific people in this community. It's a great opportunity to recognize them. And moving on with that, the council has one resolution for adoption and presentation. 4B1A is a resolution recognizing the 200th anniversary of the birthday of Baha'ullah. And this has been brought to us by Mr. Kling. Would you like to make that motion, Mr. Kling?
I'd be honored to. I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Russell. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
The motion passes, and we will take care of that presentation at this time. Mr. Kling?
Thank you, Madam President. I have excerpts of a resolution I'd like to read to basically recognize 200 years. And think about what 200 years in the city of Huntsville would have been like in our country, and look where we are today. So that is certainly an outstanding achievement. Whereas members of the Baha'i faith have been an integral part of the city of Huntsville, embracing members from all races, nationalities, and cultural backgrounds since the 1950s. And whereas October 22nd, 2017 will mark the 200th anniversary of the birth of the founder of the Baha'ullah, and please bear with my pronunciation, of the Baha'ullah faith. Whereas the Baha'is of Huntsville will work to eliminate all forms of prejudice, to develop and enhance the spiritual life of our city, and to demonstrate the value and necessity of unity and diversity across Huntsville. And whereas community building activities undertaken by the Baha'i community of Huntsville and their many collaborators seek to empower all participants to be agents of social change, working together for the betterment of the world. And whereas the Baha'i programs work with youth and junior youth help to build the capacity of young people to become aware of the effect of social forces, to articulate their feelings and perceptions, and to channel their naturally altruistic nature as a means of achieving social good. And whereas the longstanding Baha'i support for Huntsville City and community-wide initiatives to promote an inclusive community are well known and very much appreciated. Whereas the Baha'i community of Huntsville has worked diligently with all strata of society, with both religious and civic organizations, to promote the equality of men and women. And whereas the Baha'i community of Huntsville, their family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues will commemorate the bicentennial along with the Baha'is around the world. Therefore, be it resolved by the City Council and the Mayor of the City of Huntsville, Alabama, we join with the Huntsville Baha'i community in honoring this bicentennial birthday of Baha'ullah of Huntsville on October 22nd, 2017. And this has just been approved and adopted by the full City Council on today's date, the 12th of October. And Madam President, at this time, I'd like to present it to Mr. Tim Tyson.
Mr. Tyson, would you like to come forward?
Tim? Tim, on behalf of the mayor and the city council, I have this resolution we'd like to present, as well as we have a framed copy also for y'all. And again, congratulations and thank you so much for your contributions that y'all make in our community.
I appreciate you, Bill. And just what you've done here this evening is just an example of what we've been trying to do to help out in the city of Huntsville since we came here, Baha'is, in the 1950s. You have an amazing job in front of you to recognize all these wonderful people, and we really do appreciate actually being included with these wonderful folks that you've recognized this evening. And thank you very much. And we're having an event on the evening of October 21st that I think we've given invitations to everybody, and you're all invited to the observance of the 200th birthday of Baha'u'llah. And thank you very much, and we'll keep on if y'all will. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
That brings us to other special recognitions, and we do have a couple here. We have representatives who have been introduced to you of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated, and Ms. Jordan has asked some of those young people to make some comments tonight, so we will give them that opportunity at this time.
Thank you, Councilwoman Robinson. I believe Ian Shepherd is going to present tonight. Ian, would you like to come to the mic? Right here. Come toward me. Come toward
There's so many to choose from.
You're ready? Okay. Go right here. Just speak into the mic.
Hello, my name is Christina Shepherd, but people call me Ian. I am 8 years old. I am in 3rd grade at Monrovia Elementary School. Science is important to me. When I grow up, I want to be a scientist. I want to learn as much science as possible. I wish we had more science in class. I want science time to be equal to my other subjects like math and reading. I would like to do more science experiments and activities. Thank you.
All right.
And who's next? I think Shayla Hawkins.
Good evening, council members and citizens of Huntsville. My name is Shayla Hawkins. I am 13 years old, and on behalf of the Greater Huntsville chapter of Jack and Jill, I would like to thank Councilmember Devin Keith for taking the time to speak with us about his work as a city council member. Councilman Keith has helped us understand his job and explain to us what it's like to be a council member. He taught us that we can get involved in our community and help make our city better no matter how old we are. I think it's very neat that he uses social media to connect with citizens directly to help us understand what he's thinking about and to help Huntsville. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Russell, we recognize your work, we thank you for your work, and we would like to honor you with this pin at this time. I guess I should say that we were glad that you were able to make it for 15 years. That concludes our special recognitions. We will now move on to item number 5, business with outside legal representation. 5A is a council decision regarding a personnel hearing held October 11, 2017.
Madam President,
Mr. Culver.
before I make my motion, I'd like to comment on this particular item. As all of you are already aware, I've raised some questions concerning the allegations contained in the charges brought by the department against Mr. Tilken at the hearing on last evening. And while I'm of the opinion that that determination is justified based on the facts that were presented, I do want to emphasize that this is not, and I repeat, this is not an adjudication that Mr. Tilken was or is guilty of a criminal act. No criminal charges against him have been brought, and the hearing officer did not make any finding as to whether or not any crime had been committed. And with that being said, I therefore move that the Huntsville City Council uphold the department head's decision to terminate Mr. James Tilken, and further that Mr. Tilken's termination is solely for misconduct in the course of his employment and does not address any issue of criminality, guilt, or innocence.
Second by the chair. Is there any further discussion regarding this motion?
And I would, Madam President,
Mr.
like
Culver.
to thank Mr. Dennis Riley for his assistance. I believe he's here tonight, Mr. Riley. Thank you, sir, as always, for assisting the council during these times. We have a very venerated prosecutor also named, we have a venerated city attorney named Riley, who otherwise could not do this because of conflicts. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Any other comments or questions regarding this? All in favor of approving the motion as it has been read to you, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried and the termination is upheld. Thank you all very much. And thank you, Mr. Riley, for being with us tonight. We will move on to number 6, public hearings. There are no public hearings to be held. However, we have 4 to be set. 6B1 is a resolution to set a public hearing on an ordinance zoning 5.99 acres of newly annexed property lying on the north side of Cherry Tree Road and east of Esslinger Drive to Residence 2 District. This will be set for the November 16, 2017 regular council meeting.
Move to set the hearing.
Motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Culver. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 6B2 is a resolution to set a public hearing of an ordinance zoning .86 acres of newly annexed property lying east of Highway 431 South and on the east side of Wade Road to Highway Business C4 District. This will be set for the November 16, 2017 regular council meeting.
Move to set the hearing.
Motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Culver. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Motion carries. The hearing is set. 6B3, a resolution to set a hearing for suspension of licensure for certain taxpayers to be set for the October 2016, 2017 regular council meeting. This is for failure to file. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
The hearing is set. 6B4 is a resolution to set a hearing for suspension of licensure for certain taxpayers set for the October 2016, 2017 regular council meeting. This is for failure to pay. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Culver. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
The hearing is set. We will move on to communications from the public. We have a list of individuals who have signed up. When your name is called, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to address the council. The first person to sign up is Thomas Piff. Subject is iconic building. Mr. Piff.
Thomas Piff, 11314 Delcrest Drive, Huntsville, Alabama.
Welcome.
This piece of paper is the same size as your share of the current City Hall property. Every citizen of Huntsville has this much of the property we're standing on. Wouldn't it be great if we used it to further expand our Big Spring Park? Unfortunately, Tommy Battle thinks it would be better to sell it off, sell my piece off, sell your piece off, to William Stroud and Jerry Shannon of Triad Properties for about $6. Thanks to Tommy Battle's less than ambitious campaign of transparency, almost none of Huntsville's 200,000 citizens really know that City Hall has been condemned to be replaced nearby. They certainly do not know that a multi-year plan by the one percenters of Huntsville will soon rob them of their most precious land, irreversibly and irrevocably. It is the land on which John Hunt founded Huntsville, our spring, our big spring. It is our symbol of life, of community, and of inclusion, not exclusion. It is now my mission to spread this message, even if it gets there late. Get there it will. I respectfully ask my councilwoman, Madam President Jenny Robinson, to answer these 4 questions for us. The Johnson High School Development Request for Proposals, RFP, went unanswered. What makes this project different from Johnson, such that no RFP is deemed beneficial for us or necessary? The second question is, why is this project treated differently than the Summit at Big Spring and City Center? Both of those developments are on 99-year ground leases. The developers demand this land forever. What do you tell existing businessmen in South Huntsville, North Huntsville, Bridge Street, and beyond when they ask you why our city resources and potential sales revenues are being siphoned away from them to yet another sweetheart deal, jumping to the front of the line? And then the fourth question is, what is unique about recreating Bridge Street or any other short-lived shopping venue right in the middle of our legacy Central Park? I'm sure you will agree that there are other ideas for downtown that are less contentious, less expensive, and will serve just as well for our urban makeover. In conclusion, if this immense cluster of overbuilding fails, the citizens of Huntsville will surely be left holding the bag, whereas our ambitious developers will have long ago rung the register to the fullest. Look no further than the summit at Big Spring to see what the private self-serving developers will give us. I'm sure my 3 minutes are up.
And that's,
I'll pick up where I left off next time. Thank you.
thank you so much. And Mr. Piff, if you would email those questions to me, we'll get answers to them.
I'll
Mr.
hand you a
Hamilton,
copy
is there
right now,
anything you
ma'am.
want to comment on those?
Well, just so a couple things I think that it would be good to clarify. Some of the comments and questions imply that portions of Big Spring Park are included in the proposed development, and that is completely untrue. There is not 1 square inch of Big Spring Park that is included in the current proposal. Secondly, the negotiations on what the deal might look like are not completed. There's no one that knows what that deal will look like, and they'll certainly know before it comes to council for a decision. So folks that imply that there is a existing deal are just wrong. There is in fact not one. Negotiations continue, and so the elements of that negotiation are still a good bit of it to be determined. So the various prices, the dollars per square foot, all of the things, if you hear anybody sharing those numbers, they're making them up because they don't currently exist. Secondly, there has not been an RFP released on the Johnson High School property. We anticipate releasing that by December 1st, and we've actually had a number of developers expressed interest. I would be surprised if no one responded to it. But
we've seen mayors come and go. We've seen city councilmen come and go, department heads come and go. But the city workers, we believe, has done just as much for this city as any of them. We urge y'all to pass this bonus. It's about 1/3 of 1% of the, you know what I'm talking about. And we urge y'all, let me read a few cities that's giving this bonus. Fort Payne's giving it. Muscle Shoals, Double Springs, Rainbow City, Madison, Mobile, Montgomery County, Tuscaloosa. And by the way, y'all know Tuscaloosa's mayor's running for governor, don't you? But I urge y'all to pass this. The retirees, they deserve this bonus. And it's going to come at Christmas time. It's probably going to go right back into the economy. Thank you very much.
Madam President.
Mr. Culver, would you like to comment?
If I could correct Mr. Is it Bice on this, on one of his comments, he said that the city of Huntsville employees and retirees have done or do as much as what we do. That is not an accurate statement, sir. You all do more than what we do. Thank you so kindly.
The next person to sign up is Mr. Tom Devenish. The subject is Fountain Circle. Mr. Devenish.
Tom Devenish, 2807 Castle Pine Circle. I'd like to urge the Huntsville City Council to introduce a motion to cancel the current LOI that's in place with Triad Crunkleton immediately before they spend any more money. I've heard they've already spent $150,000 in the last 2 or 3 months, and so this is contrary to what some people might indicate. This is a done deal. This LOI, this contract development agreement is going to be signed by December 31st of this year. That's per the LOI. That's another point. I've never been able to get the complete LOI John sent me half of it. I don't know what's the other half, but it's supposedly proprietary information. So I'd like to know why the Fountain Circle area is not going to be a governmental building area. It's a shame for us to spend $100 million on a new city hall at where the parking lot is, and right across the street we have the old and ugly Madison County Courthouse that was actually built before this building. And so we're going to have, and they are so overgrown, but the politics of Huntsville are being placed between the city of Huntsville and the county people are being put ahead of the citizens of Huntsville. I asked the Dale Strong, the Madison County Commissioner Chairman, if they were ever approached by anybody at Urban Design Associates, and he indicated affirmatively, absolutely no. That's in writing from the transcript of the Madison County Commission meeting. So Urban Design Associates came down here to do a 5-year plan for the downtown area, and they didn't address the elephant in the room, which is the old and ugly Madison County Courthouse that is way beyond obsolete. And so, you know, it is amazing to me that we paid $150,000 for something like that, and then we're seeing that their streetscape rendering is now being called just an idea to get the creative juices flowing. You know, this is an iconic giveaway. They're giving away the prime, absolute prime property of downtown Huntsville to a private developer that does not deserve it. So I'd ask you to can I have another minute?
Council members, please continue. You have 1 minute.
Okay. So I guess the other thing is I've never been able to find Triad Crumpleton's to be formed unnamed corporation that they're buying this property under. It's yet to be defined. It's not available on with the Secretary of State of Alabama. So how can we clarify the financial ability of a corporation that is yet to be determined? If they had any guts, they would actually do this deal in their own names, but they don't want to risk the property that they have, the other Triad property. They're not willing to bet the farm on this. They're going to bet an empty house of cards. So anyway, my suggestion is to delete the LOI so this can be backed up and started over and done the right way.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mr. Devenish. Mr. Hamilton.
Council, I just, obviously Mr. Devenish's comments are predominantly filled with his own opinion, which is absolutely his right, but there are some statements in there that I want to make sure the public understands are not correct. There is absolutely no estimate that a new city hall would cost $100 million. In fact, the estimates right now for a new city hall, including clearing this site and building a new parking garage, are well under $50 million. So I don't want anybody walking away thinking that a new city hall will cost $100 million. There's absolutely no such concept anywhere in the works. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton, for setting the record straight. We have the next person to sign up is Jackie Reed. Subject is city government. Ms. Reed.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Y'all hadn't started singing A Peace in the Valley when I didn't show up last time, did you?
We missed you.
I hope you didn't, because I'm not going anywhere soon. Thank you. We had a death in the family. My niece is Coach Billy Napier. His son's a coach at Arizona State. We had a death in the family, and I had to go. So that's why I wasn't here. Mayor Battle's not here tonight. You made that announcement, did you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I want to make sure. Does he have anybody sitting in for him when he's not here?
Hamilton.
Oh, excuse me, I'd like to sit in one night when he's not here. But anyway, I'm full of it tonight. Thanks for allowing public input. I am sorry I missed the last meeting because of the death in the family. I am missing my 18-year-old grandson's birthday tonight, and that ain't good. I missed his first birthday over that park out there, them building that big bank building over there. I missed his first birthday. They hadn't let me forget that yet. Maybe I can buy him off. Money buys everything up here, so I don't know if I can deal with him or not. I'm not used to that. You all are. Maybe I can handle him better tonight. I've got a lot of issues on the agenda tonight. Retirees is one of them. That you didn't give them a raise and you gave the city 1%. That's nothing. I'd tell you to take it and keep it. You need it worse than we do. When I see that you all give, G-I-V-E, city property to the developers. Look down there across the street from the federal courthouse. Look at it. Nobody up there knew what the property value was. Nobody. Any real estate people didn't say a word. I got a real estate license sitting inactive, and I pretty well know what it was. We built a parking garage. The streets on the front, $550,000. I got a copy of the lease, and it ain't good. It's $20 a month for 20 years, or did I read that wrong? You all are absolutely giving this city away, every one of you. City center over here, I cut through there today, and you've given them right up in the middle of the street almost. Stop it. What's it going to take? New government? I really think we need to restructure Huntsville city government. I've been preaching that a long, long time. And the retirees need to raise, and the developers are just moving in on us. And when I see over there on this agenda tonight, Miller & Miller's that wants a contract to do something over here for city center, we're going to develop part of their property. You all are not giving the people in this city enough information on what you're doing for these developers. And I want City Hall. I do. I'm lobbying you, every one of you. Some of you may not be there when this time comes. Some of you want to. I hope some of you are. But we preach about City Hall.
Ms. Reed, your time is up.
1 minute.
Would you like another minute, council members?
Sure would like to ask for 1 minute.
You may have another minute.
Thank you. I would like to see City Hall, the most valuable property in this whole entire 200-something acres, put right back right here where it is. You've already got, I'm like this gentleman right here. I think the deal is already done. I pray to God that it is not, because if it is, y'all better be singing songs when the next election comes up. This property right here is too valuable to give it to a developer. I'd like to see City Hall put back on these two pieces of property right here if you got to put it back. So you better be talking to your developers and try to find a way to move them to another place. And I was at the county commission meeting when this guy said, did y'all ask about the parking garage when the jurors don't have nowhere to park? I was there when they said, y'all hadn't said a word to the county commission meeting. So you're good neighbors. Keep it up, and I'll see some of you. I've seen a lot of people come and go up there in the past 30 years. I'm still here. I ain't going nowhere. Thank you. I do love you. Tough love.
Thank you, Miss Reed. We did miss you last week.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask if, I don't know, if Mr. Hamilton or Shane Davis could talk about some of these projects, because, you know, it gets said it's getting kind of old, giveaways to developers. When we do a parking garage or those types of things that come up at these developments, y'all don't just give them a parking garage out of the goodness of your heart. You've got some sort of dollars, payback coming back to us that y'all use on these things when you bring these things to us. Can you just talk in general about the payback on these things? What we
be happy to, Councilman Clean.
City Center might be one, Twickenham Square, whatever. Just any of those that you want to pick.
I can speak
20 years, whatever.
Sure. I've been part of the city for 17 years and brought many development agreements before the city council body. We always show a return on investment before you make any decision that's public to our constituents. We show that return on investment. We show clawbacks that we put in those agreements to make sure that any public-private partnership we enter, that the public is protected, and should they not perform at the level we desire in that agreement, that there's penalty payments back ultimately to our citizens. And one of the things when I hear someone say, you know, we give property away, in my 17 years, we've never given a piece of city property away. We've entered long-term leases or sold property for fair market value. And that's the city center. That was a competitive RFP that went out. The developer actually offered fair market value. We thought it was a very important piece of property, so we converted that to a lease. They're actually paying $144,000 a year for 75 years to the city. So, you know, just the return on the land cost for that project will yield much, much more than what its actual retail value would have been if we had just sold it fee simple title. So I think the way we protect, whether it be an industrial or retail commercial project, how we protect the taxpayers' dollars with clawbacks, and then making sure we get a return on investment is our foremost first focus. And we always show that publicly in this chamber.
So you're talking about things like sales tax, in some case property tax, and like, just for the heck of it, let's say 20, 25 years, you know, how long does it take for us to get our money back that we might put in something like a parking garage?
You know, our rule of thumb typically on a project is 3 to 4 year payback. And, you know, if it's a corridor that's struggling that we really want to, you know, try to spur, we may push it to 5 to 6 year payback, but typically our norm is 3 to 4 year payback.
So figure over a 25-year period, we're going to make some pretty big bucks off of these things as far as sales tax, new amenities for the community, new restaurants.
Absolutely, and I think our revenue stream has shown that, and with our school systems, our county government, and certainly the budget you just passed for 2018.
Okay, thank you, Madam President.
The next person to sign up is Erica Burnett. Subject is Google Fiber. Is Ms. Burnett here?
Good evening. I have exhibits that I would like to present to the council. Is that possible?
Are they things you want to hand out to us?
Yes, it is. It's items that have been done, the damage that has been done to my home.
Mr. Kling will come and pick those up from you. Thank you, Mr. Kling. Ms. Burnett, please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Erica Burnett, and I reside at 3418 Tall Timber Circle.
Make sure you speak into the
I'm
microphone.
sorry.
There you go.
My name is Erica Burnett, and I reside at 3418 Tall Timber Circle, Huntsville, Alabama 35810.
Welcome.
I have been a tax-paying resident since December 2006, and on April 3rd, 2017, the entire level of my home was submerged in sewer water. After first contacting a local plumber, Roto-Rooter, I was informed that the issue was a direct result of the installation of Google Fiber. When the subcontractor was digging and laying the fiber octaves in my yard, they bludgeoned my main sewer line, causing sewage to back up into my home. A restoration company, Paul Davis, came out that day and moved the majority of my personal belongings into 2 storage pods that are currently parked in my driveway, which I cannot utilize. You all have copies of all of the damage that was done. As of now, I have been living in a deplorable state that to me is uninhabitable. Since April, it smells of sewage and it has adversely impacted my health. After going back and forth between the prime contractor, Bear Communication, and GB Directional finally took accountability for the damage. On April 25th, Auto Owners Insurance, which is GB Directional's insurance company, came out to my home and surveyed the damage. Initially, I tried to work directly with the restoration company and insurance company to resolve this matter. After several weeks of circumvention and no progress, I reached out to my councilman, Devin Keith, on June 8th. We scheduled a meeting at his office on June 14th. I took time away from work to speak with him. As I was walking directly into the office, I received a phone call from one of his staffers canceling the meeting and offering to reschedule. On June 16th, Devin Keith came to my home and saw the extent and nature of the damages firsthand. He expressed a dissatisfaction with the subcontractors and indicated that there were other residents with similar complaints. He pledged to follow up with me, investigate the situation, and assist me with a resolution. To this date, it has been no follow-up. Living in a home with the pungent sewage odor and the uncertainty of the presence of black mold has triggered a month-long ailment of bronchitis. And due to the lack of inattentiveness, I realized my home and health were the least concerns of the subcontractor and my councilman, which has forced me to seek outside legal counsel. On October 10th, my legal counsel received an inexcusable settlement offer which will not even cover the extent of the damages, materials, legal fees, compensation for the uninhabitable living conditions, the health repercussions.
Ms. Burnett, your
Can I get
time.
one more minute, please?
Council members, yes.
The health
One more minute.
repercussions in the storage of my personal belongings. I'm here today to implore the city to do the right thing. I hope that you are able to understand how distressing and taxing this entire situation has been. It has aggravated my ongoing chronic health issues, and it appears they are forcing me to take this matter to trial. When you leave here today, each and every one of you will go home to a home that you can live in. I can't say the same for myself right now. I just want to make you aware of what has been going on since the installation of Google Fiber in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Mr.
Madam President, if I can,
Mr.
before
Keith,
Mr.
please.
Riley speaks, did take this matter. This is not the first incident in my community that's happened. So as you can imagine, I've been to a number of homes. Every situation is complex and every situation is autonomous. And again, I can't say that Huntsville City is not building the fiber. So before Mr. Riley speaks, I would think it'd be wonderful. I think Gary Whitley is here to give a reference to this lady. He's in the back, I imagine, for Huntsville Utility. This is a very complex issue, an overlay for all the situations. And hopefully, before we leave, though we cannot resolve the matter here at the dais, we can get an understanding for her right here as best as you can explain it from the Huntsville Utility point of view.
Mr.
Yes.
Whitley, do you have anything to add?
Yes, Gary Whitley, Huntsville Utilities. Thank you, Madam President. Councilman Keith, as you mentioned, this is not a situation that can be resolved here at the dais tonight. As mentioned regarding the sewer concerns, I am not sure if Water Pollution Control has been involved extensively with that matter. However, I am willing to follow up with you with any additional detailed information we can ascertain. However, our contractors are required, of course, to have insurance for projects, and they have processes they have to follow regarding claims for damage.
And if I do, may add, and I hopefully I will put you two together. This is not the singular issue in Northwest Huntsville. Those claims, on top of claims, are usually managed by one person. I think I've been to 4 homes specific to this issue, and they've all been resolved in different manners, at different money agreements. The list goes on. So, again, no words will bring comfort to somebody who's experiencing that. And I don't have words in any sense that I think will cover the gamut of frustration. But I promise you, my promise and the reason that I did come out to your home was because I understood this was an ongoing issue. So I will, if you can, Gary, please get with her. But I will also have Water Pollution Control follow up, as well as, again, I know Mr. Riley knows I have been in his office extensively discussing how the city is involved and how we are involved from a legal standpoint of what we can do. Thank you, Madam President.
Mr. Riley, do you have anything to add?
I believe things have been pretty well covered. Ms. Burnett, we certainly understand and appreciate the unspeakable damage that you're suffering as a result of this incident that most of us can only imagine. I do note that you indicate that you have counsel representing you, and it is frustrating sometimes that the legal system doesn't operate as quickly as we would like. But I would urge you to allow this to proceed through legal counsel, and in fact it would be, of course, appropriate or inappropriate for me to talk with you about it when you do have an attorney representing you in this. So you should allow your counsel to do that, and I'm sure he is pursuing proper compensation for the damage and injury that you've suffered. And again, our sympathy for what you're going through, and I wish I could snap my finger and make it go away tomorrow, but unfortunately I can't do that.
Would you be willing to meet with Mr. Whitley if you'd like to step outside? I think the two of you could perhaps get together. We can take care of that in real time.
Is Shane here as well? Yes. Can he also join that meeting? Thank you.
Thank you all. That concludes everyone who has signed up to speak. We have no Huntsville Mr. Kling, did you have a comment?
I was just
Oh, I'm sorry.
asking a question. I know Mr. Russell.
We have no Huntsville utility items. We will move on to board appointments. 9A1 is a resolution reappointing Philip W. Bentley III to the Madison County Airport Authority for a term to expire October 23rd, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Culver, second by Mr. Russell. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries. Do we have any board appointment nominations? We will move on then to item 10, approval of expenditures. 10A is a resolution authorizing expenditures for payment. Mr. Kling, do you have the report of the Finance Committee?
Yes, Madam President. I move for payment of vouchers in the amount of $9,991,555.64.
Second by the chair. Are there any questions for Mr. Kling? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other information from the Finance Committee you would like to share?
No, Madam President, thank you.
Moving on, the mayor is not here tonight. Does the administration have any comments or communications? We will move on then to communications from council. Mr. Culver, can we begin with you?
Thank you, Madam President. So just a couple of things. One is, we're having a town hall meeting. Make sure everyone can hear me. We're having a town hall meeting at Hope Church, located at 1661 Balch Road. This town hall meeting will be on Monday, October the 16th. We have sent out postcards announcing the meeting to all residents who live in proximity to that area. So what we're looking to do is to put a senior citizen community at 1740 Balch Road. And as always, before we do anything here in the city of Huntsville, we like to involve the community that could be impacted by that decision. So having said that, if you live in proximity to Balch Road and some of the Rock Creek areas and other neighborhoods, heritage estates and places like that, please feel free to come to Hope Church Monday, October the 16th at 6 o'clock. Also, we have another town hall meeting scheduled for November the 7th. And this town hall meeting, November the 7th, is going to be at Williams Middle School. And the purpose of this meeting is for ALDOT, our city engineering, Miss CAFY Martin, Garver Engineering, who's doing some of the road projects. This town hall evolves out of a lot of requests and concerns that residents who live in the Zert Road, Martin Road areas have communicated to me. So if you have concerns as it relates to where we are on the construction of Zert Road and Martin Road, please come out to the town hall meeting November the 7th at 6:30 at Williams Middle School. Now, to the residents in District 5 and other concerned citizens, this will be the last town hall meeting that we will jointly hold regarding this particular concern. So it's imperative and important that if you have inquiries, questions regarding the Martin Road and Zert Road projects, then please come to this town hall meeting and we will address your concerns. We'll have everyone who's involved, from ALDOT, the Alabama Department of Transportation, again, to Garver Engineering, to our city engineering led by Ms. CAFY Martin, and other applicable departments as it relates to your concern. And I believe that is all that I have at this time. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Culver. Mr. Kling, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Madam President. Well, a couple of things that are being worked on, and I want to thank all the staff that are working on these things. CAFY Martin has made contact with a resident on Longwood Drive on the very eastern portion. She is dealing with an issue with water runoff from a house under construction, or two houses under construction, coming into her property. And Kathy and I talked this morning, and she was able to get some action taken on it by this afternoon, and very much appreciate her good work. Also, those good charitable folks at Huntsville Utilities, I appreciate them looking into the situation concerning an elderly woman who is lacking financial resources and having a problem with her utility bills situation. And they are looking into it and seeing what assistance with their programs this person who lives at Governor's House Apartments may be able to qualify for. We had a much smaller scale fiber optic issue that took place today. AT&T fiber subcontractor had done some damage in the Fleming Westbury neighborhood on a much smaller scale, but it appears that steps are being taken to get that problem cleared up as quickly as possible. But again, much smaller than what we heard a few minutes ago, and not knowing the details, I certainly have confidence that there's a process that's underway with Councilman Keith and others that'll help get that situation taken care of. And also, I want to thank the Traffic Engineering Department for taking a look at the intersection of Drake and Grody Southwest to see what can be done and whether or not that might be an area that would merit a traffic signal. That's right in the middle of the Holiday Homes neighborhood, and a lot of traffic comes out of that very tightly congested neighborhood area that's located between Drake Avenue, Bob Wallace, Patton Road, and the Parkway. And appreciate their good work that's being done on that. And, well, actually, instead of the Parkway, I should be saying Triana Boulevard, so I don't want to get too many people upset about that. And one other thing, and we made some preliminary contact with the city attorney's office to look at a problem going on with Monarch Apartments and the neighborhood disruption it's causing the Bailey Patton Estates neighborhood. And I've made contact with Mr. Riley and also with Ms. Anderson, and they're looking into it to see what can be done to provide assistance to the neighborhood on that situation. And one thing in the aftermath of last week's meeting that we had some discussion about public transit, and I believe that there's a public transit study that's going to be getting underway in the near future to see whether or not there is a need for expanding into Saturdays or maybe even additional routing. But certainly want to encourage those that are in charge of that to try to see if they can get that study process underway as quickly as possible. I think we have a lot of great things in the community, and I do like the idea that a citizen had mentioned about being able to open up the amenities in our community to more people, especially on weekends. And I think hopefully there might be a way we could do that on a small scale with limited routing to see what the usage would be. And one other thing, I do have my monthly town meeting on Monday of next week, 6 o'clock at the library. Everybody's invited. Only rule we have is no one can wear a necktie. And that's all, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kling.
And
Mr. Russell.
one other thing. I know we're getting ready to go through the reorganization process, but thank you for your service and your diligent hours as President of the Council. Knowing the motley crew that you have to work with, you certainly have my respect and sympathy.
Thank you for your kind words.
Again, thank you
patience.
for your work that you've done this past year.
And mine honor. Mr. Russell.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for presenting me my 15-year pin. The mayor battle takes great pleasure in knowing that I'm getting older. Warning to my colleague, Devin Keith, that I used to be the uncool councilman, that the Jack and Jill group used to ask for me to speak to them, and they always made a big deal about it, and today they didn't even tell me they were in the building. So you'll be wearing one of these 15-year pins soon, and maybe it'll be some young guy that comes and steals your thunder someday. So now, as the middle-aged councilman, I'm pleased to report the big picture. We'll be hosting a meeting Tuesday at the Cooper House to talk about 5 Points area. So if you have ideas for what you'd like to see in the 5 Points area, that'd be a good time to share them with the city. And also, I just want to give a shout out to the Huntsville Public Library. Last night, I went to see one of our own, Cheryl Cashin. She's the agitator's daughter, has written several books. She has a new book out, and she spoke at the library to a very good crowd, and she really did a good job. She's one of the smartest people I've ever been around and one of the better speakers, and she's a Butler High graduate. I believe she went to Blossomwood. I can't remember where she went to middle school, but she has great knowledge of the history of the civil rights movement in Huntsville, and has really done a good job explaining it to us, and so I was glad to hear her speak. So thank you, Madam President.
Very good. Mr. Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. And I will say, just recently, everybody, I had a chance to take out Councilman Russell, and I will never do it again. I'll just meet him in his office. He ate old people's food. We went to Sinshay's, and I've never met anybody who just eats a cookie, and that's it. So I want to say, 15 years. I've been here a year. It feels like 15 years, but Councilman Russell, as many of you know, it is a blessing to have him still at the dais. He has given me so much wisdom, and I truly, in a sense, sit in the shadow next to him, but I have learned so much just by watching him. He's a man of few words, so I follow his example in many ways, and it is a blessing to have you up here with me. To go to the Jack and Jill, it was exciting. My hat goes off to Miss Michelle and everybody who's involved with that. I can't explain to you, and I'll just be very specific and candid. For that community, for African Americans to see somebody who they can relate to and understand the importance of local politics in their community, beyond what is the federal politics, but really the decisions that are made that affect their everyday life, what it is to live in certain neighborhoods, what it is to live in certain communities, and the interactions that they have, and why their parents have them living in certain places and going to certain schools. That's a unique opportunity, and those individuals in Jack and Jill are getting them at a point in time where they can conceptualize their own ideas. And I wish I was in a Jack and Jill program, but the truth of the matter is those kids will be better. We can't quantify that, but I just know truly from some of the questions, from greenhouse gas emission to how council structure is made, these kids are getting it at a very, very early age, and that is a blessing. So hats off to Ms. Jordan and everybody involved. I do want to say I thought Mr. Hamilton would say he had a great trip down to Mobile, but Colonel Hamilton and the chief went down to Mobile for CCTVing. And, beyond having probably the best pigs and grits I've ever had in my life, I don't even remember the name of the restaurant. We were just like policy kids in a candy shop. They have a very unique program down there where they are attacking crime in an innovative way through police intelligence, and we just couldn't get enough. Me, the chief, and John probably talked for hours and hours about the implementation, the opportunities to sort of decrease pocket crime in some of the communities here in Huntsville. That was a commitment that I had coming in to how we integrate technology in some of our communities. And we've seen some opportunities that we can go after in a structural and tangible way. But really, truly, it was just wonderful to be down in Mobile representing the city with two individuals who really get it. How we're really trying to increase community connection between the police and those communities, but also decrease crime at the exact same time. So I want to say thank you again, everybody who supported that trip in the administration. In a fun light, we have a playground build out coming. My hat has to go off to Steve. I originally spoke when I first came on, and he was like, "You want to build a playground?" And it's just like, yeah. And he has, in his department, found a grant, a Kaboom grant, which is about $15,000 that will allow us to build a beautiful park in a much-needed residence. That's Northwoods, my childhood home neighborhood, and it will be top of the line, a beautiful build-out with benches, and it is much needed in that community. That date, I want to say is the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. It's a Friday, but I'll be back before then to say that date. But I do want to say if anybody is interested, you can send me an email. And I think, yes, it is the 27th. That Friday, we'll be there at 8:30 a.m. You get a free meal with it, as well as drinks, and just a good time to do something that is good. And again, I can't say thank you enough to Parks and Recs for their attention to the need and necessity in that community, and really what they've done overall with the Northwood and Calvary Hills site. I also want to take the second because it has just been very big in my community, and this individual is here today to give a congratulations for somebody who has owned a very, very important role in this community. Hats off to Mr. Alonzo Robinson, who is our presiding judge in the city of Huntsville. We at this dais, well, 5 of us, had nothing to do with that decision. That decision came between him and the mayor. And the one thing I said that is very unique to this job is that none of us try and do other district jobs. We always reference that I know my district, you know yours, and together we can work to make Huntsville better. But specifically to the mayor, I will never tell him how to do his job. And he made a decision that I, support. He, in a sense, has his own reasons for why he got to that decision. But I think it's an opportunity for us to collectively hope and wish the best for overall for the court system. They have 3 incredible judges, and much reform is needed, and I believe much reform will come from those 3. And collectively, I think they will have us running a very efficient municipal court system, which is needed. So I do want to send my congratulations and keep the high expectations that come with that appointment for Mr. Alonzo Robinson. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. I'll wrap it up. We have a number of events coming up in South Huntsville to which everyone needs to be aware of. The first is on October 17th, we are going to see some major changes to the Bailey Cove and Green Mountain Road interchange. That intersection is going to become a signalized intersection. I had someone today, after I posted it on Facebook, ask, what does that even mean? That means red, yellow, green. It will really improve that intersection for folks who are coming off of Green Mountain. We have lots and lots of people living up on Green Mountain now, and so they need that access. Camelot Pool is right there to make that neighborhood more walkable, to improve access to the pool. We need that intersection there. It can always be a dangerous situation, though, when an intersection becomes signalized. So everybody needs to be aware. October 17th at 9 a.m., that signal will go hot. So be very, very careful in that area. Secondly, the Southeast YMCA is once again hosting a cleanup at Ditto Landing and Whitesburg Boat Harbor. Many thanks to the Southeast Y for doing that. It will be October 28th, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. The Southeast Y website has a Google sign-up form. You can go there. Also, you can take a look at justserve.org. And if you've never been to justserve.org, you might want to take a look. It's a great volunteer platform listing projects all over our community. You can just go on justserve.org, sign up, and go on there. And the Ditto Landing Cleanup is one of those projects that you can check out. And then finally, November must be the month for town halls, because I have a town hall on November 6th, Monday, November 6th, 6:30 at Bailey Cove. And we're also going to be talking about roads, the new Hazeland Road extension. Many thanks to Ms. Martin and the engineering staff who will be there to brief us on that revised design. And then we will also have Representative Zaldot who will be there to talk about progress on the overpasses. So please join us or be aware of all of those events. Thank you, council members, for your comments. We will move on to item 13, unfinished business items for action. 13A is an ordinance number 17-766, annexing 2 acres of land lying on the east side of Paul Drive and west of Old Pig Grove Road. This was introduced at the September 28th, 2017 regular council meeting.
Move to approve the ordinance.
Motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Kling. Is there Ms. Nichols? Presentation.
This annexation request is currently a single-family detached home. This property is located west of Old Big Cove Road and on the east side of Paul Drive. The property owners would like to petition for annexation for city services, and this property is approximately 2 acres.
Are there any questions for Ms. Nichols? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Opposed? The ordinance is approved. 13B, ordinance number 17-768, amending ordinance number 12-1027, eligibility requirements for retirement health benefits. This was introduced at the September 28, 2017 regular council meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Keith. Mr. Thomas, would you like to help us understand what we're doing here?
Yes, ma'am. This is an ordinance to update our post-retirement health benefits eligibility requirements. What it basically does, it just provides clarification that dependents or spouses cannot be added to the retiree health plan after they retire.
All right, any questions for Mr. Thomas? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Opposed? The ordinance is approved. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. 13C is an ordinance number 17-769 declaring certain equipment surplus and to be sold at public auction. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. Is there any questions, comments? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Motion carries. 14, new business items for introduction. The following items will be, are introduced for consideration at the October 26th council meeting. 14A is introduction of an ordinance declaring certain items surplus and selling them at a public auction. 14B is introduction of an ordinance annexing 25.35 acres of land lying on the north side of Dug Hill Road, north of King Drake Road. Again, these items will be considered at the October 26th meeting. This brings us to 15 new business items for consideration or action. Are there any items any council member wishes to hold for separate consideration?
Madam President, I wish to hold 15I.
Are there any other items anyone wishes to hold for separate consideration? Mr. Culver?
Thank you, Madam President. 15G and 15V as in Victor.
Are there any other items?
Madam President, I'd like to ask that we hold item J.
And the chair asks to hold item T. So we have T. We have holding items G, I, J, T, and V. Are there any other items? Can we get them all? Very good, then we'll move forward. 15A is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of donations. 15B is an ordinance amending budget ordinance number 17-700 by changing appropriated funding for various departments and funds. 15C is an ordinance amending budget ordinance number 17-700 for preliminary carry-forward amounts for various departments and funds. 15D is an ordinance amending budget ordinance number 17-700 by changing the authorized personnel strength in various departments and funds. 15E is a resolution authorizing travel expenses. 15F is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Huntsville and the Alabama Fire College and Personnel Standards Commission, whereby the city will provide facilities to serve as a regional training center. 15H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Huntsville and Dunlap Contracting, Inc. for construction services of limited modifications of Cavalry Hill. 15K is a resolution authorizing the city attorney to settle the claim of Dresden Lehman. 15L is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a special employee agreement between the City of Huntsville and Deborah Hobson. 15M is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke National Bank of Commerce letter of credit number 401-000000 for Oakwood Phase 1 at Lake Forest. 15N is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke National Bank of Commerce letter of credit number 400692800 for Inspiration on Green Mountain. 15O is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke National Bank of Commerce letter of credit number 401184800 for Inspiration on Green Mountain Phase 3. 15P is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke Bancorp South letter of credit number 362-000893537 for the Meadows at Hampton Cove Phase 2. 15Q is ordinance to correct an error in the legal description of land annexed and described in ordinance number 17-699. 15R is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into modification number 1 to the agreement between the City of Huntsville and Innobar LLC, doing business as Nova Solutions, to extend the term of the agreement for an additional 1-year period for Novus Management Solution and video streaming services. 15S is a resolution to appoint Sherry Huffman as clerk of the municipal court. 15U is a request for authorization to advertise and fill 1 revenue license inspector position, grade 15. 15W is a request for authorization to advertise and fill 1 planner 3 position, grade 18, at a higher than minimum rate if necessary. 15X is a request for authorization to advertise and fill 4 equipment operator 3 positions, grade 10. 15Y is a request for authorization to advertise and fill 4 equipment operator 3 positions, grade 10. 15Z is a request for authorization to advertise and fill the budgeted vacant position of Water Pollution Control Operator 4, pay grade 15, at higher than minimum if necessary.
Madam President, I move for consolidation approval of 15A through 15F, 15H, 15K through 15S, 15U, 15W through 15Z.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those resolutions and ordinances are approved. We will then move on to 15G. 15G is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Huntsville and Passport Parking, Inc. for smartphone and mobile web payment of parking.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Culver. Mr. Brown, can you please share with us our plans here?
I'll be happy to. Passport Parking is an app that can be downloaded to either an Android or an iPhone from the appropriate app store. What that does is once you download the app, you would put in your car information, your tag information, your credit card information, and that will allow you when you come downtown and park at a parking meter to enter that meter number into the app, the time that you'd like to use that meter for. It's automatically charged to your credit card. You don't have to have any change for the meter. It's much more convenient. And our hope is that it'll encourage more people to come downtown, enjoy themselves. And the best part of it is that if you want to extend your time, if you're in restaurant, shopping, bar, something like that, and you want to stay a little longer, you can simply go on the app and add time to your meter. You don't have to go back out and do that. So our hope is that people will use it and it'll make it more convenient for people coming downtown.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Brown?
I guess devil's advocate, with all the hacking and everything that's going on, what security is there going to be that we can tell our public that
well, the security issues are passed on to Passport Parking. They have the certifications and the requirements. The credit card information is encoded and encrypted, and so they're the ones that will have the responsibility to ensure that the app is safe to use. But it's a national company. They're in many large cities, and I'm not aware of any problems they've had. So we don't expect any problems.
Any other questions?
See if they can create a link so they can, like people like myself, can pay our parking tickets as well.
And then there's that.
Municipal court, you can see a judge.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. 15I is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement between the City of Huntsville and the low bidder Miller & Miller, Inc. for mid-city open space improvements, project number 71-17-SP46. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. Ms. Martin.
Yes, thank you. This is a contract between the city and Miller & Miller. It's for construction to finish the streetscaping for the mid-city open space area, as well as the Phase 1A project, which is about 2,000 linear feet of roadway. So this allows us to put the decorative lights in, the benches, the landscaping, the irrigation, to have that area finished for adjacent redevelopment.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Russell.
Ms. Martin, what is the value?
Yes, sir. The bid amount was $3,674,919.
And how was this budgeted for? Was it part of the large project I think we approved a year ago or so?
Yes, sir. As you know, we've taken many contracts before you for construction in phases, and like I said, this will be the last one to finish that area out, and then we'll begin a new phase.
And is this all public infrastructure?
It is. It's all within the public areas and right-of-ways.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Martin or other comments? Mr.
I guess the old financial question that, I think it's good to get out because, I think it's a legitimate issue. Kathy or Shane, either one, what is the total amount that the city is putting into the Mid-Cities project? And part two, how much is the developer putting in? And three, what would our return on investment be over a 20-year period or 25, whatever? You need those?
Yes. Councilman Kling, the city budgeted when you passed the urban renewal redevelopment plan somewhere between $18 and $20 million. To date, should you approve this contract tonight, will be about $9 million into that. And that span was over a 5 to 6 year period. So, it has graduated out in a slow pace. There'll be a couple more contracts that probably engineering will bring before council for 2018. And then we were finished, it's kind of a progress type base, performance based agreement we have with the developer. We agreed to put in phase 1 infrastructure, and they had to complete 70% of that before we put any more public infrastructure in. I can tell you that they're very, very close to some very large announcements. I think before the holidays you'll have, they're working very hard. But our investment, to answer your question, somewhere between 18 and 20. Their initial investment is about $550 million. So you can see that it's very much a large investment in relation to our investment. And then the 20-year return on investment, just off the top of my head, I hate to give the number, but was somewhere around $320 million in property tax and sales tax revenue. So it was a very good investment. As you're well aware, the property tax at Madison Square Mall had depreciated by 80%. We used to collect over $4.5 million of sales tax there. The last year that it was open, we collected about $70,000. So it was a big drain on University Drive. Since we've started the demolition in that, we've had Rooms to Go open up, a multi-million-dollar facility. Jim and Nick's Barbecue has taken a vacant piece of property and is under construction, and I've had several others along that corridor come into our office talking about making renovations or a redevelopment of property. So the corridor is coming back very, very strong. It's something we had to do, as I told you, over a year ago, and will pay dividends not only in that corridor but also for Research Park, which is the lifeblood of our city as far as jobs and economy.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Culver?
Yes, thank you. And Mr. Davis, you're on the hot seat tonight, or stand rather. So is the project moving along as anticipated? Are there any hiccups or anything that we can anticipate?
No, surprisingly, the work that the developer is doing has really forced us to go faster than we anticipated. So really, project's moving much more rapidly than we anticipated. We thought that it could be a slow start, but I think with the economy starting to turn on a national level and some of that starting to stabilize, the interest that has came into that area and for that project has been much greater than we anticipated from a timescale standpoint. So that's why we've brought you a couple of contracts a little quicker than we thought, but we've been able to budget that. So in correlation, that means the private development happens much quicker and gets on the tax rolls, and the return on investment starts sooner than what we projected.
So we're looking tentatively at possibly 2021 for it to be completely built out?
I think so. That's
a year
we're
ahead
actually
of
meeting tomorrow, and I'll have an update from the private side of where they're at.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Any other questions? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is approved. 15J. Thank you, Mr. Davis. 15J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Huntsville and Croy Engineering LLC for engineering and planning services for quarter study for West Huntsville Low Mill Project number 71-18-SB01.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by the chair. Ms. Martin.
Yes, ma'am. This is a corridor study for the Low Mill, West Huntsville area, and what it does is it allows us to plan for infrastructure improvements in this area. It's about approximately 200 acres. It is getting a lot of traction on redevelopment. So what this allows us to do is, like I said, analyze the existing infrastructure out there regarding drainage, street lights, sidewalks, mobility, street condition, and then come back with some recommendations on what areas to maybe look at redeveloping or streetscaping in order to accelerate the redevelopment of the area.
Questions for Ms. Martin?
No, I just want to say thanks to all concerned for bringing this up to the council.
All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Martin. 15T is a resolution regarding Stonemark Subdivision Draining System Remediation Plan. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Culver. I have pulled this, first of all, because I want to recognize and thank everyone that's been involved. This project was as a result of the almost 5 inches of rain in a little bit more of an hour that fell on a very narrow piece of South Huntsville during the night of August 10th. It flooded out properties that were at the base of the Stonemark subdivision as it tore out a detention pond, and all of that water came down on that neighborhood. And the response of the city, Mr. McNeese, was, by the time I called him at like 7 o'clock, he was already out there with the crew taking care of things. And Shane Cook was out there. Ms. Martin, Mr. Davis went right to work on how do we make sure this doesn't happen again. It was a very thorny legal issue. Mr. Riley, you may want to comment on that, to work through with the HOA. And they have put together a drainage plan. Would someone like Mr. McNeese, are you prepared to comment on what that drainage plan is going to be to address and make sure we can control flooding in that area? I know there's a lot of concern on the part of those homes because now they've just got a big old hole in that detention pond, and they have a concern about another heavy rain event that could damage
Absolutely,
property.
absolutely, Councilwoman. We have an earthen dam plan as the design plan for that detention facility, and we're going to go after tonight. We're going to meet with the consultant tomorrow, look at finalizing that plan for the first next week. We have the material ready on standby to start to mobilize on site, to start hauling that material, to build that earthen dam to function as it should have to begin with, and hopefully relieve the residents in the area that will not happen again. So that's our goal.
And the question I'm being asked is, we're building an earthen dam there. Is that going to be effective as that rock wall that was there?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the advantage is that it will be built more quickly than the rock wall could ever have been built.
It will be. Well, like I said, we're anticipating it to take a couple of weeks to come in, shape, drop, make sure that we tow it in correctly. We want to have our geotech on site to be overseeing the compaction. So we'll have everyone there to make sure that it's built correctly.
Thank you again for being so responsive to the needs of the residents. And Mr. Riley, could you talk us through the legalities here?
I would, and of course, first I would correct Mr. McNeese and say we hope it will be more effective than
Absolutely.
the stone wall was.
Absolutely.
But at any rate, yes, this did present and continues to present somewhat of an unusual scenario. This was a private drainage feature. In other words, it was not a city facility or something of that nature, but it was designed to work in concert and with the city drainage features and facilities that are out there. The problem, of course, is having failed, the wall leaves a hole there, and the city's drainage system is not designed to operate as efficiently without that detention facility there to help us. And so it was presented with a question of how do we proceed to do something to protect not only the downslope property owners who have already suffered damage, and they're wondering, well, how do we repair our property if we're just under threat of the same thing happening the next time there's a heavy rain? So there's concern for that. There was also concern for the damages to our public infrastructure in that all that deluge of water literally peeled roadway up in the neighborhood there. So those things had to be repeated. As with Ms. Burnett, who spoke earlier about her problems in the legal system, sometimes it takes a while for these legal problems to be resolved. In this case, the responsibility for this thing that occurred, this event that occurred, will take a while to work through the legal system. We emphasize that the city is not responsible, or our position is not our problem that caused it, but we're here trying to meet and address the needs now for our citizens who are out there. What we're asking today is for the council to declare this or to recognize this as a public purpose. The city can address needful drainage issues that exist, and that's what we're wanting to do here, and that becomes a needful public purpose because we're addressing the drainage issue. We're also addressing protecting multiple homeowners down below, and we're protecting the city's infrastructure and restoring the integrity of our drainage system. For that's the reason, or the things behind here, and the folks down in the neighborhood below that Stone Mark subdivision will be able to rest much easier at night when the weather forecast calls for one of these heavy rains we seem to be having.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Any comments or questions from council members? Thank you again to all the staff who have worked so hard on this. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15V is a request for authorization to advertise and fill one full-time events coordinator position, grade 9. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Mr.
Ivy.
Steve.
Yes, ma'am. This is a request to fill a position in our community event division. This position is the ones when you see the tent set up or the bathrooms or the mobile stage pulled out for special events, or if there's a special event in town, this is the group that supports them.
And
Mr. Culver.
thank you, Madam President. And Mr. Ivy, so is this an already existing position?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
And so, okay, so.
I lost it to Public Works. They took the gentleman. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. You may have to take that up with Mr. McNeese, but I understand the need for that position. I had requested that to be held. I just needed more information on it. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That concludes our business items. We'll move on to 16 legal department items. We have no vacation of easements. We have 2 vacation of rights of way. 16B1 is a resolution consenting the vacation of a portion of a right of way along Swancott Road near Jetplex Industrial Park, Phase 5. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 16B2 is an ordinance vacating a portion of a right-of-way along Swancott Road near Jetplex Industrial Park, Phase 5. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Russell. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 16C1, deeds for acceptance. 16C1 is a utility and drainage easement acquired from Stonemark Property Owners Association, Inc. On 10/11/2017.
Move to accept the deed.
Second by the chair. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This brings us to non-roster communications from the public. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council?
Madam President.
Yes, sir. Mr. Culver.
Yes, I am just extremely elated that we have students representing Oakwood University here tonight. So I wanted to make sure I could thoroughly embarrass them.
Can we ask them to sing? I feel like everybody at Oakwood can sing. So.
Yes, so if one of you or however many of you would like to come up, can we take just a minute, Madam President?
Certainly. Would a representative from your group like to come and tell us about which class, your purpose in being here tonight? And we would love to hear any insights that you've picked up from your time here. If you'll just give us your name and address for the record, just come right there to the microphone.
My name is Shadonna Bell.
And my name is Danica Antoine.
And our address is 7000 at Venice Boulevard, Huntsville, Alabama, 35896.
Welcome. We're glad you're here.
And we are all social work majors, and we are here for particularly a class assignment. So we sat in today to just observe.
Well, very good.
And they came, although their professor didn't come. That's amazing.
Yes, it's a social policies class, so yeah.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Madam
Thank you very much for being here. We hope it has been a good experience for you. We welcome you back in the future.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? Ms. Fallon.
Good evening. Edra Fallon, 203 Hawks Crest Drive, Madison.
Welcome.
I'm here tonight in response to an article that appeared on AL.com entitled, "A Revitalization in North Huntsville, ? New schools, jobs, and homes could improve culture." Councilman Keith said that a new North Huntsville High School has been opened. Councilman Keith. The new North Huntsville High School has been open for 2 years. How many new homes have been built in that 2 years? I want to say that no one is building new homes in an area with failing schools, and all of the schools in your district are failing. You also said there is a matter of changing the culture of North Huntsville, which is prone to crime. These social work students probably know that crime is associated with poverty. And poverty is associated with the lack of educational opportunities. Students who live in your district aren't being taught how to read, write, and do arithmetic. And they are forced to turn to criminal activity to survive. In order to change the culture in North Huntsville, you need to change the culture of those responsible for educating them. I know the Huntsville City School Board of Education is capable of educating students because they are educating students that live in South Huntsville. And although crime statistics in North and South Huntsville, when you look at them, they're basically the same. But North Huntsville the crime in North Huntsville gets publicized because it's North Huntsville and because of the culture of our media. So I say that tonight I have to come here and speak to this council about school board issues because citizens are not allowed to address school issues at the Board of Education. So I know that our tax dollars are used to fund the schools. I know that you are committed to changing the culture in North Huntsville, but a manufacturing facility with jobs is going to have manufacturing jobs. Those are not good, and there are only going to be a few of those.
Can we give another minute?
Are
Another minute.
you all okay with another
Thank you.
minute? Ms.
Thank you.
Fallon, you're given another minute.
So I wish you could do something about the Board of Education and making sure that all children, especially the children in your district, because they're already disadvantaged, and it's going to continue to be a vicious cycle. North Huntsville the culture will never change if the if the populace is not educated. So I want to thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, if I could.
Mr. Keith.
First, let me say thank you, Ms. Fallon. For those you don't know, Ms. Fallon is a large voice in my community. She attends Board of Education meetings, obviously City Council meetings. She is very involved and understands the community. And from District 1, as best I know it, I'm very familiar in the community. I really want to address this as briefly as I can, but as poignant as I can. It is a blessing to see the students here. I remember that feeling as a social work undergrad, then going on, being compelled to do more. But I have a different theory and perspective, though she's absolutely right. Education is immensely important, as you all know, and it becomes a catalyst for our community to bring in what we would consider new families and create nucleus, right? Nuclear families of a family that can grow up in a community, have the amenities, the quality of life, as well as have an education point that they feel comfortable putting their kids in. I absolutely agree with her. But specifically, I must say there's a delineation between the city school board and the city council. My job is to do exactly what it is, and that is be the city council member. As she talks about building new homes, she's absolutely right. And I think the reason that I actually, if I'm being candid, sit behind this dais is because there hasn't been any new growth going on in Northwest Huntsville. The opportunity that we have at the Johnson campus offers an opportunity for us to have our first involvement and injection of a public-private partnership. But what I think is important, and why that word culture needs to be used, is the conversation for revitalization is not gentrification. We are not trying to move people outside of their homes, but we're trying to say opportunities of growth that the city can get involved with to leverage the good that is there. And I think that if we continue the negative conversation, I think if we continue to double down on the things that are bad, we ourselves will believe that there will be no growth in Northwest Huntsville. Well, if that was the case, I wouldn't be sitting here. The opportunities that we have in Northwest Huntsville, small, medium, or large, need to be grabbed and need to be supported fully by the city of Huntsville. And I feel like everybody here that sits here, as well as the mayor who is not here, understands that. That doesn't mean that we change the quote-unquote culture overnight. I also want to say that the culture that we're talking about was not created in 2017. So I know that small, incremental steps of success will eventually change the culture. You talk about crime, and you're absolutely right. Though I did my dissertation in making that correlation, and arguably sit here because of that dissertation, the direct correlation of poverty is not specific to the nodes, as we know, in certain poverty pockets overall for what we know to be crime. Crime could be correlated for just drug infestation. Crime can be correlated for a number of other reasons, such as renters markets. Crime can be held in certain areas and hubs of certain places in our communities for 4 or 5 or 6 different variables. I have to do what I can for Northwest Huntsville with the powers that I have. I absolutely agree again. Education is important, but I did not run for city school board. But I have full belief that the District 1 City School Board rep is doing everything she can to make Northwest Huntsville the best district in education. And in cohesion, I think that I will do everything I can to make the infrastructure better, decrease the crime, increase the quality of life. And I believe the city as a whole is looking to do the same thing. I can't answer every question. The culture that we're looking to change was not created in 2017. And the small steps of success that everybody agrees with in City Hall are the steps that we're going to be taking from henceforth. And though I love the comments and I love individuals who have that awareness, I cannot join the negative train about the things that are negative in my community. I have to change what I can and try and put a positive knowledge, positive perspective for my community. So to everybody who's sitting out there as a student, you're probably going to run into some negative cultures. And you're going to have some tough days, and there's going to be some things that you want to answer and you can, and some things that you cannot. Just remember, when you get in moments, the small incremental steps of success move the needle just as much as the big ones. And that you must parlay your small successes when you can and put all your muster, all your fight and your motivation behind those. That's what we're doing in Northwest Huntsville. Thank you.
Well said, Mr. Keith. District 1 is fortunate to have you as their representative. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment, Mr. Piff?
Nothing prepared, so I'm going to ad lib real quick to Ms. Fallon's point. It's about shiny objects. And shiny objects, what was I going to say? Let's see here. Give me a second, I'm lost. Right, shiny objects. When we've had all these different malls in town and we build a new mall, he talked about Madison Square Mall going from sales tax revenue of $4 million down to $70,000. Well, there's a reason for that. Somebody built shiny objects to sell to other people and to have people come and live their hopes and dreams and build stores there, but it left other people high and dry. So now all of a sudden, instead of $4 million, we have $70,000 from Madison Square Mall. Madison Square Mall started suffering when we redid Parkway City Mall. Naturally, to make that nice shiny object prettier, we built a parking garage for them and probably issued municipal bonds to build it. Then came Bridge Street, and there's a $10 million garage there now. And everyone runs to the shiny objects to go and enjoy them, naturally. But that leaves all your other people, all your other business folks, all your other people toiling and working a lifetime high and dry. Go up and down the Parkway. Look at all the blighted businesses because they have been preempted. They have been preempted, and this is the fact. In fact, the proof that people are all clamoring to the shiny objects is you get to give awards to policemen because trouble comes to the shiny objects eventually. But the point is, we keep building shiny objects and we're oversupplying shiny objects for our citizens. We're not growing fast enough to do this. We need to grow organically. And that's part of the reason why I'm complaining about the Big Spring Park land grab. I also don't think that Triad is particularly exceptional or suited to bring us what they brought to y'all, because it's their idea, I know. Because if you look at their website, they don't build high rises and do retail well. They do low slung buildings, they do buildings out in outside lying areas, they do medical buildings, warehouses. They're really not in this particular, and look at the Summit, just as a case in point. There's no promised restaurant, 14 years on, no promised restaurant, no public access to speak of. There's nothing there except the building that's beneficial to them and the people that they've sold units to. Only for 99 years, though, I remind you, because we haven't given that land away completely. We'll be dead, but we didn't give it away completely. I think there's other developers that could do as good or better a job that are more deserving of that.
Mr. Piff, your time is up.
I know.
Thank you for joining us. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the council? Is there anyone else who wishes to comment? We'll then move on to our final agenda item.
Madam President, I think this lady
is there
wants.
someone?
I guess not.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to? Is there someone who would like to make a comment?
Oh, okay.
We'll move on to our final. You just thought the meeting was over, didn't you? Our final agenda item, City Council election. This is our our first meeting of our fiscal year, and so according to our bylaws, it's time for the City Council to reorganize and elect officers. Before we do so, let me just extend to my fellow council members my gratitude to them for affording me the opportunity to serve as president this year. It has been an honor, it has been a privilege, and it has been a tremendous learning experience. One of the things they don't tell you is that in the fine print of serving as council president is that you are the department head. So you're doing payroll, and you're hiring people, and you're doing all kinds of things that you all don't see going on up here. It's not just presiding at the meeting. So it has given me a real appreciation for the work that our department heads do. However, because of pressing family responsibilities, I am more than eager to extend that honor to someone else. So I will declare all offices and committee appointments and assignments vacant and yield the chair to the city clerk treasurer to preside over the election of president of the council, Mr. Binion.
Thank you. At this time, nominations are now in order for the office of
Mr.
president.
Binion, I nominate Mark Russell for president.
Second. I'm sorry. So you should
Are
say-
there any other nominations?
Move that nominations be closed.
Okay, there are no further nominations. The nominations are now closed. We will now have a roll call vote. We'll start with Councilman Keith.
Aye.
Councilman Russell. Councilman Kling.
Aye.
Councilman Culver.
What is it worth? Aye.
We're really putting out the bad jokes tonight for some reason.
So at this time.
I get to vote?
Oh, sorry, Councilman Russell.
Double
Robinson. So we have a unanimous, then Councilman Mark Russell is now the council president, and I will yield the floor to him.
Thank you, Mr. Binion, and thank you, council members, for your faith in me. The floor is now open for nominations for President Pro Tem.
Mr. President, I nominate Dr. Jenny Robinson.
Dr. Jenny Robinson has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close the nominations if there's no objections. There are no objections. We're now voting on Dr. Jenny Robinson. Mr. Keith?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Mr. Kling?
Aye.
Mr. Culver?
Aye.
Ms. Robinson?
Aye.
Congratulations, Dr. Robertson. You're the President Pro Tem.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir. The floor is now open for nominations for third presiding officer.
I nominate Councilman Bill Clean.
Mr. Kling has been nominated. Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Councilman Keith.
We have two nominations, Mr. Kling and Mr. Keith. Are there any other nominations? We'll take them in the order as they were nominated. First, we'll be voting on Mr. Kling. It will be a roll call vote. Mr. Keith, how do you vote?
No.
The chair votes aye. Mr. Kling, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Culver, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dr. Robbins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Kling, you have been elected third presiding officer on a 4-1 vote.
The
Congratulations.
burdens of the job will make me humble, Mr. President.
Council members, we do have city council committee elections. There's three committees that we normally elect for. They are Planning, Huntsville Historic Preservation Commission, and Cummings Research Park Board. If the council members are ready to go ahead and vote on tonight, I'd like to go ahead and do it. If you want me to postpone this till next meeting, that's fine as well. Do I have any consensus on going ahead tonight? Let's go ahead then. We'll first vote on Cummings Research Park Board. The floor is now open for nominations for the Cummings Research Park Board.
I nominate. Okay.
Mr. Kling, you have the floor.
I nominate Councilman Culver.
Councilman Culver has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? The nominations are now closed. Let's just take a voice vote. All those in favor of Councilman Culver say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. Culver. We now have a vote for the Huntsville Historic Preservation Commission. As my pen says, I have held this for 15 years, but don't feel like you need to put me in there again if you don't want to. So the floor is now open for nominations. Yes.
I nominate the president, Mark Russell.
Yeah. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Let me guess, there's no other nominations. The nomination is now closed, and I will accept that assignment. Thank you very much. We'll call it 5-0. And now the nominations are now open for the member to serve on the Planning Commission. Are there any nominations?
Nominate Dr. Jenny Robinson.
Dr. Robinson has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? The nominations are now closed. All those in favor of Dr. Robinson say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Dr. Robinson, congratulations. You're a member of the Planning Commission. Council members, please let me know of any appointments or assignments you would like before the next meeting, and if I don't hear from you, I'll start assigning them, but I hope we can work it all out.
Mr. President?
Ms. Kling.
At the, I guess it was about this time last year, we actually did a split on Metropolitan Planning Organization from the Planning Commission. I would be glad to support Dr. Robinson if she wants both. I can do it if she doesn't want it. Just very open, but we do need to legally, I guess.
I would be
take that.
happy to share that with you, Mr. Kling.
Council members, are there any objections to Mr. Kling serving on the Metro?
NPO.
Oh, that's what I thought you meant you would go to 2 meetings, I would go to 2 meetings.
Oh,
No, I'll be glad to do it.
Okay, I'm unclear on what you're agreeing to.
I will do
I
it.
think I'm Planning Commission and Mr. Kling is MPO.
Okay, council members, is that an agreement? So Mr. Kling will serve on the MPO, Dr. Robinson will serve on the Planning Commission. Is there any other business that needs to come before the council? We're adjourned.
Oh, we had a few.